Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We'll start with Shabbat of Chol HaMoed Sukkot, the Shabbos that happens during Sukkot, a Shabbat in which we try to bring even more joy than usual, because one of the most important mitzvot of Sukkot is to experience joy. Samachta b'chagecha. You shall rejoice in the holidays.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Samachta b'chagecha.
Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, ooh baby, by the way.
I'm happy.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Because I'm happy.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Because I'm happy.
Clap along if you know what happiness is to you.
Because I'm happy.
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Because I'm happy.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Because I'm happy.
Clap along if you know what happiness is to you.
Because I'm happy.
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Because I'm happy. והיית ושמחת בחגיך והיית אף שמח. מועדים לשמחה. May you have a joyful season. Shabbat Shalom. Do you know how to answer to the sentence Moadim lesimcha? Have a joyful season. So, thank you very much. You say thank you, right?
תודה רבה.
Well, there's an interesting thing. Actually, when someone approaches you and says Moadim lesimcha, there is a long sentence in Hebrew that you are supposed to answer. And even if you are very fluent in Hebrew, it doesn't come out easily. And I find myself, when I'm greeted by other Jews that know the formula, missing out again and again. When someone says Moadim lesimcha, the answer should be Chagim uzmanim lesason. May you have a holiday and a time of joy. And I find myself, every time I have a conversation and someone separates from me saying, Moadim lesimcha, say Moadim lesimcha, or you too, or Shabbat Shalom, whatever. And then 10 seconds later, realize, I was supposed to say Chagim uzmanim lesason. And it turns out that when you want to be mindful about joy, you actually need to be really mindful about it. Joy is not something that happens automatically. Joy happens when we deeply connect with what's happening to us, with the moment, with the time we are in. And maybe because of that, when we want to experience joy and we want to be mindful of a joyful season, we need to articulate that. We need to find the words. They might not be Chagim uzmanim lesason for you. There might be other words. But we need to be mindful of the words we choose and how we look at our interactions and how we refrain from automatically responding to each other. And instead of that, how we try to be mindful of how we interact with each other. So may this Shabbat help us reconnect with that sense of joy, find that mindfulness, and that sense of connection to ourselves, to our lives, and to each other. I would like to invite you to open your Sidurim on page 120 for Adlakat Aneirot, and I would like to invite Barbara and Judy to light the Shabbos candles. It's a normal Shabbat blessing, Barbara and Judy. What do you?
We'll sing with you.
Please rise if you can.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. Like little elbow. And one shoulder. Take it all. Here. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Turn our Sidurim, may be seated. We turn our Sidurim to page 130. Lechu neranena l'Adonai. Let's welcome this Shabbat with joy. We're on page 130.
נרננה לאדוני נריע לצור אישנו נקדמה פניו בתודה בזמירות נריע לו נקדמה פניו בתודה בזמירות נריע לו ימי לי 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 ידה לי 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 ידה לי 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 ידה חדש שירו לאדוני כל הארץ שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו פסרו מיום ליום ישועתו ספרו הגויים כבודו בכל אדוני מלך תגל הארץ, ישמחו עם רבים, אור זרו על הצדיק ולשרי לב שמחה. שמחו צדיקים באדוני בהודו לשכר קודשו. מזמור שירו לאדוני שיר חדש כי נפלאות עשה. In Shabbat we try to acknowledge the niflaot, the wonders that we have in our lives. We recognize that the creation of the world that surrounds us, is a gift. It's a source of amazement. And we also recognize that our own creations, the creations in which we are partners, they are also all inspiring. As we turn our Sidurim to page 134, we take one more step toward entering this Shabbat, this time of holiness, this time set apart for us to find rest and connection to our souls and to each other. We're on page 134, Samru Ladonai. Samru Ladonai bechinor vekozim ra b'chatzotzrot b'kol shofar ariu לפני המלך אדוני עילם הימום תבל ויושבי בה הידי נהרות עמך וכף אף יחד הרים ידענו לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק בעמים במישרים אילם ימום לו תבל יושבי בה נהרות עמך וכף אף יחד ההים ינעננו אף יחד ההים ינעננו
page 136, מזמור לדוד, Psalm 29.
מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בנערים, הבו לאדוני כבוד בעוז, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, ישתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, לאדוני המים והכבוד יהי אדוני, אדוני על מים רבים, כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שומר ארצים, וישבר אדוני את ארצי הלבנון, וירכיבם במועגל לבנון וסידון, כמו בנערים. כל אדוני חוצב להבות אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני לכל איילות, ויחשוף יערות, ובחלום כולו מרכבות, ובחלום כולו מרכבות. אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, את עמו, את עמו, את עמו בשלום. It is so nice to have a sanctuary filled with your presence. We have decided that we try to do Shabbat in person, Friday night in person once a month, and having you here in the sanctuary, those that are, of course, connecting with us in Zoom and we see your faces, and those that are sitting here physically, it makes such a big difference. As we acknowledge those that are also joining us in YouTube and in Facebook, there is something about seeing each other's faces, recognizing the community, feeling each other's presence. And in Shabbat, we think of a neshama yetera, an additional soul that joins us for 25 hours. And that soul comes from within. But I think that when we see each other, it's easier to recognize that additional soul that is accompanying us for these 25 hours. There's an additional layer of kedusha, of sacredness. And as we see each other, and as we acknowledge and recognize each other's presence, we come to welcome the bride. We come to welcome Shabbat. We're on page 138. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו לקראת שבת, לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. אנוש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה.
לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקרבה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקרבה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שתדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגרע. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקרבה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה,
בני שבת
נקרבה.
לא תבושי ולא תיכלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי. נכסו עניי ימים, ונפנתה הרהרתי לה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקרבה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקרבה. We invite you to rise if you can and turn toward the entrance of wherever you're standing as we acknowledge this moment in which the bride, the Kala, is within us.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמונך עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקרבה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקרבה.
You may be seated, and as it is our custom, we invite you to acknowledge each other. You can wave to each other, and if you're here, you can say good Shabbos to each other, and you can wave to those that are in Zoom. You can see their faces, and we acknowledge those, of course, joining us on YouTube and Facebook. Good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos, Evan, and Gabriel, and Fernando, and Zach, and Tammy, and Rachel that are here behind the scenes, and of course, all those that are here in person, and those that are joining with us in Zoom. And in all the rest social media. We will now turn our Sidurim to page 140. During the time of Sukkot, we think of the connection between our souls, our actions, and nature. Tzadik Katamar. We are on page 140.
צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה. שטובי בבית אדוני
page 144.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברך ירטה וימליך מלכותה בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב
ואמרו
יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה
בריחו
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה
תושבחתה ונחמתה
תמירן בעלמא ואמרו
Please rise. Yadalai, lai, lai, Yadalai, lai, lai, Yadalai, lai, So we rise for the Barhum. We acknowledge the diversity of our minyan. We acknowledge that each of us counts. As we look at each other, we look around, we recognize that as we are diverse and different, there's a common denominator to all existence, to all of us. Blessed are you, blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe. Can I ask for a bit more volume? Thank you. Who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Baruch ata Adonai, המעריף, ערבים. בת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Dear God, please never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch ata Adonai, oev amo Israel. page 152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. We continue on page 154 with Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם נאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
מת באמונה כל סוד בקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. Continue with the silent reading over page 156. Page 158. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? The children witness your presence, and they exclaim, "This is our God." May we find its presence forever. As it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Israel.
join us. It's very easy. Yididai, dai, yallai, dai, yididai, dai, yallai, yididai, dai, yallai, dai, dai, dai. 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 Yididai, dai, yallai, dai, yididai, dai, yallai, yididai, dai, yallai, dai, dai, dai. Yididai, dai, yallai, dai, yididai, dai, yallai, dai, yididai, dai, yallai, dai, dai, dai. 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 Yididai, dai, yallai, dai, dai. Yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 dai. Yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 yididai, dai, 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 dai. In the lack of shape of the nigun, we find our own space to define the words that we need to say, to think of the words that we need to find within our hearts, to find and visualize what's the meaning of the obstacle, what's the shape of the obstacle we are dealing with. And we try to find also the joy of redemption, of knowing that when we step forward with faith, things can happen, different things. As opposed to remain in the same place, we try to move forward. We try to be nachshon. We try to be the one that put his foot in the water, because no one else will do that for us in our own lives. Each of us needs to be his or her own nachshon. Each of us needs to find courage to deal with whatever obstacle we have in our lives. And as we do that, we try to find joy, we try to find wholeness, we try to find love, we try to find peace, try to become a shelter of that peace as we come together as community. We are on page 160 of Rosaleno. Cover us with the shelter of your peace. Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, and over the holy city of Jerusalem. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. It is a sign, a covenant between generations. To keep Shabbat and to allow Shabbat to protect us, to keep us centered, to keep us connected to our life experience, to time, and to God. We will now turn our Siddurim to page 164 for Tfilat Amidah. If you're able to do so, please rise. You can always rise in your spirit. Grant abundant peace to your people Israel forever. Baruch atah Adonai, Oseh Shalom. Blessed are you, Adonai, maker of peace. And as we conclude Tfilat Amidah, we take one more moment to pray for those that are in need of healing. We think of those dealing with illness in their bodies, in their souls. We think of those dealing with addictions. And if you have a name that you'd like to share in this evening of Shabbos, please do so as we go around the room. We, of course, invite those that are joining with us in Zoom to share the names of those that you are thinking of, and of course, those that are connecting with us through YouTube and Facebook, as we pray together for their health to be restored and their complete recovery on page 371, Misheberach.
Misheberach
We wish to all of them, to all of you, to all of us, רפואה שלמה והחלמה מהירה. A complete and a fast recovery. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Good Shabbos, everyone. So, can I ask you to? So we have some challenge with the volume. This is too high, and I just want to make sure. After 7 holiday services, my voice is like disappearing. So what I can't do with my body, I need you to do with the volume, but not for me, for the rest of the community. I can hear my thoughts. Can you hear me well now? If I speak this way, you can hear myself? Okay, you can hear myself? No, you can hear me, and I can hear myself. Good. Post-high holidays, thank you so much. Thank you, Saki. So, I want first to make a side comment, an important one, for those that are following the weekly Torah portion. So this week, we don't read the weekly Torah portion. And for those that like order, like me, for these kind of things, it's always a surprise. It's like, again, but as a matter of fact, it happens every year. We will read the last Torah portion of the Torah in Shmini Atzeret, immediately after the holiday of Sukkot, which is the 8th day. And we will read Parashat Besot Abraha, which is the very last Torah portion of the Torah. And we'll talk about that then. Today, we actually talk about Sukkot, because the Torah portions that we are reading during the holiday of Sukkot are related to Sukkot. But I want to talk to you actually about Sukkot itself. I really need to stop this. Thank you. But I actually wanted to talk to you about Sukkot. No papers now. It's just you and me. So, 3 mitzvot to the holiday of Sukkot. Number 1, you're supposed to sit in the sukkah. Number 2, you're supposed to shake the lulav. Correct, David. And actually, the arava. The mitzvah is on the arava, and the lulav with the adas, the lulav, the arava, and the etrog, the 4 species of Eretz Israel, of the land of Israel, is a later development. And number 3, the third mitzvah is, this is the most difficult one. Besamachta bechagecha. You are supposed to experience joy. Now, why is this one the most difficult one? It is the most difficult one because joy is a mindset. Can you shake the lulav? Well, you shake the lulav. You shake the lulav with one hand. You shake the lulav with the other hand, with 2 hands. You move the lulav with your legs. It's a physical action. Can you go to the sukkah? You can go to the sukkah. You enter the sukkah. Not too complicated. Now, joy is a different story. It's a mindset. Now, people tend to confuse between joy and happiness. Now, happiness is a reflective experience. It's when we look back, we say, I'm happy about my journey. Like this chapter and this chapter, I'm content. I'm comforted by the nature of my journey. Joy has to do with the moment. It's a connection in real time to experience joy. And it's more complicated. Now, this connection with real time is not happening out of context in the Jewish calendar and in Jewish tradition. This connection in real time is happening immediately after Yom Kippur. 4 days after Yom Kippur, 4 days after many of us were in the shadow of the valley of death, all of a sudden, besamachta bechagecha, you are supposed to be 100% joyful.
So how do you move? How do you shift from the shadow of the valley of death to the beautiful and comfortable shade of the Sukkah? How do you make that shift? I want to share a story. Rabbi Susha from Anapoli and Rabbi Elimelech, they used to accompany bandits, criminals. They were trying to teach them and help them do teshuvah. And they used to be with them quite often. And one morning, while they were accompanying the bandits, they got caught by the police and they were taken into prison. The rabbis weren't too preoccupied. It wasn't the first time. They knew that they were doing important work, so they were quite calm. They were meditating, they were talking, and by the time of the prayer of Mincha in the afternoon, when Rabbi Elimelech was preparing to pray to daven Mincha, all of a sudden, the guardian of the prison decided to put a pail in the middle of the room for the prisoners to do their needs. Rabbi Elimelech sat on the side and started crying. He couldn't stop himself. There's a mitzvah that says that you cannot pray in a place that has a bad odor. A place with a bad odor is unfit for prayer. When Rabbi Susha recognizes that Rabbi Elimelech is crying, he approaches him and asks, "Why are you crying, beloved brother?" And he says, "We can't pray Mincha. I can't fulfill the mitzvah of praying Mincha." Rabbi Susha smiles and says, "Don't you see? Don't you see that the same God that has commanded you to pray Mincha also commanded you not to pray in a place that is unfit for prayer? This is a great opportunity. This is a unique opportunity. This is the opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah of not praying in an unfit place." And the two rabbis broke in joy, and they started to dance around the pail. They were so happy. They were overjoyed. They had the unique opportunity of fulfilling the mitzvah of not praying in a place that was unfit for prayer. The guardian heard the rabbis dancing and singing, so approached another prisoner and asked him, "Why are these two Jews singing and dancing? Why are they so happy? They're in prison." The prisoner said, "I don't know, but since you put the pail, they have been so happy. They are so joyful." The guardian said, "No way." So he went into the room, took the pail. And so the rabbis finally were able also to fulfill the mitzvah of praying Mincha. There's another story that says about a Levite. The Levites were tasked with bearing the ark. The ark was very, very heavy. Through our journey in the desert, they were supposed to carry the ark. So once a man approached a Levite and said, "It must be very difficult to bear the ark all the days of your life." To which the Levite answered, "No, it has been the ark that has bore us for every single day that we have been in this journey." Sometimes the task that is very difficult becomes the center of our attention, but also the center from which we extract meaning. To switch from the work of Yom Kippur into the actions that we need to do in order to build the year that we are envisioning requires from us to approach that work with a deep sense of joy, of connection with what we are doing right now. And if we don't have that connection, then the work becomes unbearable. The only way to make it through this journey, whatever you are dealing with, is by finding a sense of meaningful connection and, yes, joy. So I want to pray for all of us to be able to carry what we are carrying, to carry what's challenging right now and might be heavy right now with a sense of connection and with joy, and to recognize the challenges that we are dealing with, to recognize the challenges that right now might be an impediment for some of the things that we would like to do. And as we recognize them, to dance our way around them. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue our service on page 585. Please rise for Aleinu Leshabeach. Behashevota El levavecha Ki Adonai Hua Elohim Elohim Behashevota El levavecha Ki Adonai Hua Elohim Bene'emal Ve'aya Adonai Lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad U'shemo echad. You may be seated. We will now turn our study to page 598 as we acknowledge mourners in our community. We invite those that are online to share the names of those that you are remembering in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, and of course in Zoom, as we acknowledge the cycles of mourning. We will also ask those that are here to share the names of those that you are remembering. If you are during the first 7 days of mourning Shiva, please rise. If you are during the first 30 days of mourning Shloshim, please rise. I see Mark Silverstein rising for his mother Rita. If you are during the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise.
John Giano.
If you have a yahrzeit this week, the anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year in years past, please rise. Thank you.
Gerald Newman.
I see, Laila, you're standing, and Phyllis, you're standing from Cheryl Newman as well. Now you can support our fellows by standing or sitting, joining us with your voices and your hearts for Mourners Kodesh on page 598.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru.
Amen. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי אלמיה יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו
Amen.
יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
Amen. May the memories of your dear ones be always a blessing. Yeh Zichram Baruch. You may be seated. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., we'll have Torah study. You are all invited to join. Rabbi Daniel will be a guest speaker in Torah study, and he will be discussing with you the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, which is the book that we read during the holiday of Sukkot. And what's the topic of Kohelet?
to everything there is
What? Nothing new under the sun.
there's a time for
So
all
Kohelet is someone, Melech Shlomo, King Solomon, relating an existential crisis. Right? It's a description of an existential crisis in the Torah, and it's fascinating. It's one of the most fascinating, in my opinion, the Bible, Ecclesiastes and Job are the most controversial books in the Torah. In Sukkot, we have the opportunity to read Ecclesiastes. I encourage you to join Rabbi Daniel and Torah study tomorrow to explore that book. It's wonderful. Now, in the afternoon, we will be celebrating Havdalah, and we'll have a parents' gathering. So for those that are free and would like to join, I think we have enough space for everyone, so you can come by and join us. And that's all the information. One more last thing, for those that are keeping up with the community notices, and please make, or not keeping up with our emails, please make sure that you have in your calendar the concert of Cantor Asi Schwartz that's coming to Orange County on October 10th. The concert is going to be at 4:30 p.m. It's a concert organized by the Jewish Federation, and it's going to be held in Shira Ma'alot. I encourage you to be there. We have been working for months to make this concert possible. It's finally happening, so I invite and encourage all of you to be there. I will be there as well.
and I will be participating.
You'll be singing there a little bit,
in it.
yes.
There's a little bit, so.
So, and Gabriel will be singing with Cantor Schwartz, one song. Gabriel and
Not
and,
a duet.
and all the cantors in the community. But hey,
All the wonderful
all the wonderful cantors in the community.
Yeah.
We'll do Kiddush. Please turn your Sidurim to page 122, and if it is your custom, please rise. בערב ויבוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים בארץ בכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי וחברותיי כנסי לחיים.
לחיים.
Beautiful, thank you. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפם. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, עם כל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
לחיים.
L'chaim. Put the Kiddush cup here. And we conclude our service making sure that nobody leaves this space
without being recognized, without being acknowledged. So I invite you to look around. Make eye contact. We will read in Parashat Besot Abracha that the very last action of Moses in this war, there are two. One is he sees the land of Israel. But the other one is that he blesses the people of Israel, Besot Abracha. And when we bless, we lean toward each other. So you might want to make eye contact and lean toward each other. As we celebrate each other's presence, we celebrate our creations. We celebrate those that have bring us into the world. We reconnect with our parents, with our grandparents. We connect with our children. As we say, Yasimchem Elohim כפרעים וכמנשה, ישימכן אלוהים כשרה רבקה רחל בלאה. יברככם אדוני באיש מרחם, may God bless you and protect you. ירא אדוני פניו אליכם ויחונקם. May God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. יישא אדוני פניו אליכם וישם לכם shalom. May you find within you God's presence always. May you find wholeness. May you find joy. And may you find and become a maker of peace. אדוני עוש למויתם. אדוני יברך את עמיו בשלום. Shabbat Shalom everyone. Good Shabbos. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. 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 כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדום לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Good Shabbos everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.